Hello, this is an overview for the astrology forecast for August 2017. My name is Donna Page. My website is lovinglightastrologer.com. Thank you for joining me. August looks as if it is going to be our biggest astrological, chaotic month of the year. The other one, we did have a lot of ups and downs in the March-April time with Venus retrograde, but August is also right up there toe-to-toe in terms of a lot of change happening. There are 7 significant events happening in August alone. The planet Uranus is going to go retrograde in Aries. This is the last time it will go retrograde in Aries for the cycle's 84 years. So it's a big deal. The next time Uranus goes retrograde next summer, it will be in Taurus. Now, there is a bookend. Whatever's coming up for you that represents Aries, Uranus retrograde vibration of change, wanting something different, wanting to be challenged, being courageous. This cycle, it doesn't complete until January of 2019, so it is a 1.5-year cycle. Now, the second of the 7 important events is Jupiter square Pluto. We did have a Jupiter square Pluto in March. It is, as always, the squares, opposition, they go back to the conjunction, the beginning of the cycle. The beginning of the cycle of Jupiter-Pluto was way back in December of 2007. That's 10 years ago in the making of this transformational energy of doing something big. The conjunction happened at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, which is important because that goes back to a number of vibration that was going on with the Sagittarius retrograde in April, and that connected the March-April time with the Venus retrograde that we had going on. Now, all of this time, this cycle between Jupiter and Pluto and Sagittarius, issues on a global level would be brought up about boundaries, universal countries, extending the boundaries, traveling between different countries, and also injustice. Anything where things have been going on where justice has not prevailed. Now, in your own personal life, you may look to see what is it Jupiter-Pluto wants to do something big and something meaningful. So the square energy is like, what can bring up, is my life significant? Is what I am doing significant? Is it important to me? It doesn't have to be on this grand scale, but to have it be important to you, that it's significant to you, connecting with one other person, putting something out there for one other person, where you can touch their life in a positive way. The third important event that we have is the full moon eclipse in Aquarius, which goes back to, of course, the new moon in Leo on July 23rd. Now, the new moon in Leo on July 23rd had Mars with it, activating Leo, get off the couch, get off that, it's like, where in my life am I being lazy? Where am I in my life may I be manifesting too much of the problematic side of Leo? Too much drama, too much, why can't somebody else do it for me? Right? Because Leo, she's the queen. It's like, if you're a queen, of course, you could just snap your fingers and have life done. And that's why it's like, are you that lazy? Is it just, I don't want to? Am I not motivated? Mars is motivating. So with this full moon in Aquarius, there is that motivation factor. How am I doing here? In Aquarius, it's also about connecting with friendships, finding a place where you feel, I belong here. This is where I feel connected. I feel great in my skin. I belong on the planet. Obviously sometimes with the Aquarian energy is like, do I really belong here? Am I supposed to be on this planet? So it can bring up those feelings, but the purpose of it is to search, and goes back to that new moon about activating your energy, especially to find joy in your life. The fourth thing that we have is we have an exact Uranus semi-square Neptune. Now, some astrology would say that this is a minor aspect, but when you're dealing with these outer planets that have these huge century-long cycles, they are not minor. And that Uranus-Neptune, so we go back to the conjunction, right? Any aspect goes back to the conjunction. That conjunction happened in 1993 at 18 degrees of Capricorn. And that Uranus-Neptune, it brings in what is the ideal change of structure in your life. And what can seep into the consciousness, or you see it in the news, is that there's this desire to change some of the structure in life to have things more ideal. What do I mean by the structure of life, that Capricornian sense? Well, the work that you do. Is your schedule? Is it what you want? Is the work you do what you want? Is there any change that you can make where you have more flexibility, where it's more of your vision of what makes sense for you to earn your living? And so things along that line can pop up. The fifth major energy we have is Mercury going retrograde in Virgo. Mercury's in its rulership in Virgo, so it's very strong. So is it strong difficult? It can be, because it is opposite Neptune. Now, this is going to play out in the eclipse, the solar eclipse, but Mercury, Neptune, right? Mercury in Virgo. Virgo is a lot about health and work. A rethinking of your work, a rethinking of how you're taking care of your health. Rethinking is like, is what they are telling me, whoever those in authority are, that says this is what can or cannot be done in terms of you taking care of your health. Is it true? Because Neptune's there. What's cloudy? What are they not saying? What is being kept hidden? And so this going back into your own psyche, into your own intuition, to nurture yourself, to take care of yourself, and to perhaps within Virgo there's some research. It's very intellectual sign. So let me just not accept what this professional says about this, doctor or whatever. Let me find out what's right for me, and find out what's hidden. Neptune always likes to obscure things or hide things. Now, it doesn't mean that there also can be some pretty funky communication mixed, and that reminds me, I really do need to back up my computer. Yeah, definitely, because this is a prime time for, all my data just disappeared. Now, the solar eclipse in Leo, the last degree of Leo, there's a lot of talk about that. This solar eclipse, it is a huge event. It is a total solar eclipse. It is crossing over the majority of the United States. However, and it is a big deal. But the positive side of this solar eclipse is not negatively aspected with the difficult planets. So they call it afflicted. So I try to keep it very non-technical. But so the eclipse is not afflicted with Mars or Pluto in such a way that I would be shaking in my boots. It actually, there's a flow energy. There's been a flow energy this year with Uranus and Saturn in fire signs. And now we have the Leo eclipse in the fire sign. So it is about experiencing life. And remember, the North Node, wherever the nodes are, the eclipse follows. The North Node is in Leo. What is the universe saying? It's like, hey, humanity, follow your heart. Listen to your heart. Your heart has a brain as much as your your brain has an intellect. There's an intellect here. And maybe there's a disconnect between the logic and the heart, the intellect and the emotions. Yet, following the heart, following Leo, get into your creativity. What is it that you love to do that does not necessarily have anything to do with paying the bills, but it brings you joy, it opens your heart, it opens that sense of loving to be alive. This is what this eclipse is about. Now, yes, I'll do a solar eclipse and go more into detail. And yes, there's some concern for the United States because it is the shadow crosses it. But if your personal chart is not being afflicted, that astrological technical word, with transits that are very difficult, then the eclipse is bringing up wherever in your chart, whatever house the eclipse is falling in, it says find joy there. Look for joy there. Open your creativity in that area. If it's in your fourth house, you might paint some wild colors on your wall and be creative that way. If it's in the house of friendships, you're bringing some more joy into your life through connecting with your friends, etc. Now, the other main energy that we have that is coming up for us, the seventh one, is Saturn is going direct. And Saturn is going direct in Sagittarius. It's going direct in Sagittarius for the last time. So it's like all on board. The next stop is in Capricorn. And those of you who are late, were born the last 10 days of the Sagittarius cycle, will probably go like, I am so happy that Saturn is leaving my sign because, Saturn can be tough. It's good because it wants you to be true to yourself. Does it create things that can be more difficult or you have to work harder for it? Yes, but it shows the value of hard work and that some days it's just about showing up, as the saying goes. Some days it's just about getting out of bed and doing what you said you were going to do. And then we do end the month with Venus. Venus floats through Cancer through the majority of August. On the 26th, she goes out of Cancer into fun-loving Leo. And the same day that Juno, the asteroid that represents marriage and keeping family together, moving direct. So that energy is going into a loyal time and activating and helping to support us in the Leo cycle and the solar eclipse. And of course, by the 22nd, the sun does go into Virgo, and that will be that beginning of that energy of back to work. Let's get back to work. It really isn't activated totally until the new moon, but that shift is happening. Have a beautiful month, and thank you so much for joining me.